back. Welcome everyone for a very good meeting. And I hope everyone is dried out and hope everyone's appreciated seeing the sunshine. I know that I have. We will go ahead and get started with the city manager's briefing, the fiscal year 2015 unaudited financial results. Patty Phillips. And Patty, we welcome you. Look forward to your report.
Oh, thank you.
You look pretty good to me.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to recognize Mr. Don Barnett here, City Controller, whose office compiles this, and Mr. Aaron McCoy, the accountant who pulls this briefing together as well.
We welcome everybody.
And let's see, do we got it up here yet? That doesn't look like it.
Thank goodness it's not us. It's kind of a dark picture.
Okay. Just August 15th, we closed out the books for fiscal 15. And you know that, and as a reminder, we do not have a cash basis accounting system. All the bills that we have that relate to FY15 are put in FY15, even if they're paid in August or September, regardless of when they're paid, and that goes the same for revenues. Any revenues that are applicable to 15 that we've collected in the first, say, 6 weeks of fiscal 16 get accrued back to FY15. So we're now in the process of analyzing the 50-plus funds, and the auditors are in process now, and we will be back later to give you the full audit, you know, that little 260-page book of all the different funds. But today we're just giving you a very high-level snapshot of where the unaudited information, what the information is for the general fund, the schools, water and sewer, waste management fund, and the TIP fund. And the first one we're going to go over now is the general fund budget to actual, and there's no surprises here. We've been briefing you every month during the year, giving you projections of where we thought things would be, and they're pretty much right on target where we had said they were. You'll see the local revenues budget of $849.5 million came in almost on the exact number. Excellent budgeting, Catherine. But of course, within there, you'll see we have some that are high and some that are low, but overall they came in at budget. The state was $3 million under budget. Half of that was public assistance, which means we didn't spend it either. So those are a reimbursement revenues. And the other half was recordation tax. You remember the state reduced their allocation to the city, and if you don't tell them where to take it, they take it from recordation tax. On the expenditure side, the city expenditures, $23.5 million less than budget, and the schools were $12.3 million less than budget. You kind of bring that down in the actual column down, account for the reservations, and we'll go over that a little later. We have an unassigned fund balance at June 30 of $97.2 million, which is 9.33% of fiscal 16 estimated revenues. Okay. I'm going to now just walk through some of the major revenue items. The first one, real estate, is the most stable, easiest to project. And just to point out, we put the tax rate as applicable. 2013 at 95 cents, and 14 and 15 were at 93-cent real estate tax rate. The green bar is the budget. The yellow bar is what actually came in. So you can see how very, very close there. And 15, there we are 3.6% up on an actual basis than we were last year. We had about 600,000 over budget. Okay, Aaron. Personal property is, and I know this is what Catherine has told you, it's the most difficult to project. Last year we were way under. This year we're way over. And of course it also reflects a 30-cent increase in the rate, and that accounts for close to $5 million, I believe. So we were, how much exactly? We were 17.9% up on just the levy due to the tax increase. And we had projected earlier somewhere between 6 and 7 million over budget, and we're in at 7.2 over budget. Okay. General sales tax. General sales tax was under budget by 1.8 million. However, I wanted to point out that they actually were 3% greater than what we actually collected last year. So while we didn't achieve budget, we are actual greater than last year. Business license, same thing. We collected more than last year, slightly more than last year, but the budget was increased, and we did not achieve budget. Under budget by 3 million, when we had originally projected between 3 and 4 million would be under budget. But collections are up 1.3% from the prior year. Hotel room taxes, another record year, and it just happens that Mr. Ricketts is sitting right here.
He's going out on a high.
We're going out on a high note.
Going out on a high.
It's the best way.
He deserves it. You deserve it, sir.
Well, we're about 200,000 on the, this is the general fund portion, which is 2 of the 8-cent hotel tax, so, and it is a record high, and it's about 4.9% greater than the prior year. Citywide, the hotel tax amounts to a lot of money. We collected 27.9 million, about 4.8% up from the prior year when you consider everything. Restaurant meal taxes, this is the general fund portion, which is about 3.5% of the total 5.5%. We were above budget slightly, about 200,000 over, 300,000, and it's about 5.4% on an actual to actual. So it grew, but the budget had anticipated slightly, well, about the same. The total meal taxes, Aaron, is a $60 million revenue item, very significant to the city. Again, the same deal, slightly above. And this slide is just a reminder to everyone. I like to see it to remind myself. On the hotel tax, the majority goes to the tip fund. 2% goes to the general fund. On the meal tax, the majority goes to the general fund at 3.5%, and a portion goes to the tip fund, the TAP fund, and of course, open space. Telecommunications tax continues to underperform. I went back to the first year that the city joined, the statewide, 2007 and 2007. It was 17.5 million. In 2008, we had 24.5 million in revenue in that item. So it's continued to go down. The city gets 6.3% of the state telecommunications tax, and it's 3.4% down from the prior year. State revenues, you can see we're just slightly under, about 3 million. As we said earlier, it's a recordation tax and it's public assistance. The expenditures. We broke this expenditure down just a little bit more. The upper portion is the city, the lower is the schools. Kind of so you can see it's the departmental savings. 23 million on the city, $500,000 was debt service. On the schools, 12.3 million. Total under budget, 35.8. And this is sort of in line with the prior years. I look back over the last several years about how much the city and schools were underspent. And we are pretty much in line on the city side. The schools, this is the lowest they've had since 2011. Also a reminder, the bottom line is the unassigned fund balance. We are one of the lowest points we've had in a while. Okay. Here's a little bit more on reservations. In governmental accounting, loans, inventories are not spendable. You deduct that from fund balance. So you'll see loans of $6.5 million, which is primarily Vanguard Landing and the various rescue squads. Inventories and future programs are money that has already been committed and not spendable. The CIP, cash funded city side at $14 million for FY16, so we pulled that out. We've committed that money. School reversion through our revenue sharing, $12.9 million is committed elsewhere. The school operating budget, the city council appropriated $2 million towards the schools for next year, and we've got a reserve for SIPSA of $5.2 million, with the change in the rebate that we'll be having coming up. So that brings us to the $97.2 million, or the 9.33% of next year's fund balance. The school operating fund, this reflects all of the schools' funding sources, and just breaking that down a little bit, you see the city funds, $390.2 million. There's other local money. They had revenue from their own reserves. State share sales tax at $70 million. Commonwealth funding and the federal government. And so they were $3.1 million under budget on the revenue side. Their expenditures were $15.4 million under. So that's a net of the 12.3.
Do you know why that is?
On what?
Why their expenditures are down that much?
Well, traditionally, they are underspent. They have a concerted effort to try to not spend their money, anticipating what they might need in the next year. Catherine, you want to comment on that? I know you were with them.
Over budget, like we do.
Right.
And tax the citizens
I just
for
wanted to
it.
hear somebody say it, that's all.
I said it quietly.
I'll be playing it more loudly.
Well,
Excuse me, Barbara
and
has a
just to
question.
point out, also, money they had left over last year and the year before, they used to help balance their budget this year.
Yeah, they've been actually concertedly saving each year, so they have money to plow into the next year's budget. Not a good budgeting strategy, don't disagree. But we've been allowing them to do it because the state revenue has been so abysmal for them that they'd have to cut programs or call on y'all to help them out a lot more if we didn't allow that. So that's Patty's right on that.
Well, at least the governor mentioned today that he's going to invest
And all my
good
fingers
money.
crossed.
He said at the BML today.
Yep.
Schools,
Tax
almost
increases tomorrow.
Barbara?
Just in looking at that, the city, local money is so much more than state and federal combined. How long has it been at that percentage? I mean, it keeps dropping every year from the state participation.
We've been more than the state's contribution to schools since before the recession. It's been a long time. And
Very
we've
long
been-
time.
I mean, when y'all have been very helpful for them, you gave them a 4-cent tax increase, that added to it. So I can give you some history on that if you'd like.
I think this is a major trend. I mean, look at, it's down, the actual is even down some more. I mean, that's a really wide spread between the city and what the Commonwealth is.
I think, if I recall, there's another trend out there that I think is important. I think you'll see our local funding to schools has kept going this way. Whereas,
Yeah.
I don't know that other cities have done that, perhaps gone down. And I do applaud the council for increasing the local funding to schools.
You may recall when Dan Edwards was here, I don't think he was the one that explained it, but they were walking through the funding formula and said, even when the top money was staying flat or slightly declining, the way the funding formula works, and they assess people's physical capacity to pay because of where they see our revenue and taxes, despite the fact we think we're paying more, how they evaluate our ability to pay reduces what we get out of that funding formula. You may recall when he went through that explanation and showed all the parameter values and how those factors related, that also explains. So even when it improves, given the funding formula, you would not expect to see proportionally that we would improve relative to the overall increase.
And compounding that issue is the fact that they've been losing students. They've been relatively flat the last couple of years, but they had a significant decline in their
About
their
7,000.
basic aid had been going down. We are next year going to have a re-benchmarking, so could change what the state thinks we need to be paying versus what they need to be paying. So that issue's out there for the general assembly next year.
What's the local versus city?
It's like athletic fees and those kinds of things.
Yeah, summer school fees, you know, various fees they collect outside of the city. Okay, let's flip now to the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. And you'll see that the charges for service are significantly 5.9 million above the estimate. Sale of water is slightly under. The water services contract is also under. Operating expenses are under, debt services significantly under, and of course the CIP is transferred as budgeted. I want to say, though, that this is a cash basis. When you see the actual financial statements in the audit report, we'll have depreciation, you know, we'll pull out the principal payments out of that debt service.
Do you recall the cash balance?
Do you have that number, Don, the cash? 116 million, yeah.
You know what it is. It's about $20 million.
Oh, no, it's more
More than that.
It's a whole lot more than that.
Unrestricted cash is 116. The total cash, they have some restricted cash as well, but,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Self-financing versus borrowing lower our cost.
yeah.
That's the point I think you're making. I know you, yep, I agree. I saw that in the CAFE thing.
The Waste Management Fund, I thought would be interesting to City Council. Everything is pretty close to budget. Revenues about 700,000 over budget, and we have expenditures 2.3 million under budget. So all those are in the positive territory. And as we've all been talking, the SIPS rebate is changing in fiscal 16 and will go away
And it helps with the
after
bond.
this
Yeah,
year.
it's still-
Will have an impact to the city. Tourism Investment Program, $35 million in revenues. We were slightly above. Expenditures slightly below. Fund balance at the end of 15 is about $1.6 million. Just a recap here. We're right within our policy. We are slightly less than we were last year in terms of the percent. We've got reservations as adopted by City Council with the budget. And departments have been doing generally a good job. We've got a lot of complexity out there that we are trying to manage to make sure we're accounting for everything totally. But things do come up, and I'll say that the audit's not finished. Some of these numbers could move a little bit, but we think that having the unaudited information is still going to be helpful to you all to know where you stand before you start the process moving forward with a 5-year forecast and adopting a budget. And next up, speaking of the 5-year forecast, that'll be coming up next month. We'll have the audit December 8th, along with the November statements, and then the budget, of course, next spring. And happy to answer questions if I can.
Well, thank you very much, Louis.
Your reserve for the SIPSA was 5.2, but it seems to me like what we got to pay is a lot more than that, isn't it?
Yes.
5.2 last year, it'll be 10 this current year.
Right, yeah.
6 months, 12 months, 6 months.
Yeah, I'm just going to look at the,
Other questions or comments from John?
Going back, this is one of my traditional questions, but I'm going to ask it again so I can get the answer. On slide 3, of the amount that the variance for both the city and schools, I'd like to know how much of that is attributed to under-executed payroll.
under execution of what?
Payroll, personnel
Okay,
expenses.
I've got that on slide 3. I don't know that I've got the schools, but I can get that. But the city, about 8 million of that 23 was salaries, and about 7.9 was fringes.
And can we get some kind of categorization of where the other categories were? Or if they're less than 5%, roll them up.
Yeah,
just like to know.
I took a look. It's just normal departmental, variances when you start spreading across 26 departments.
But basically, then that's 8.8 and 7.9,
Yeah, yeah.
16.7, that's quite a bit. And then
Well, we
going,
anticipate, just as a reminder, everyone, we anticipated that when 14 million was earmarked for the FY16 capital budget.
understand, but I'll bring it up to another place to debate that we're overtaxing citizens, we're over budgeting for civilian payroll, for our payroll, but that's another day, another dollar. But getting back on the public utilities, water and sewer fund, there was a debt service was like 25 and then went to 15, trying to find the slide
Right,
number
right.
that was. Is that because we moved that debt cost that thought we were going to incur and moved it to HRSD, or what exactly? Did we retire debt early? What happened there?
Basically, this is ultra-conservative budgeting by public utilities. This debt service was assuming that all previously approved but unissued debt is issued in that fiscal year, and the associated debt service. So if you're following what I'm saying, it's.
Yeah, they didn't issue all the borrowing they intended to do, but it was authorized in the CIP to be issued.
Right.
So that really carries forward as more or less like a reserve into the next year.
That debt will eventually be incurred.
And on the trash fee, when they get to the general accounting, do the full statement, I'd just like to understand how they're going to carry forward the assets that were paid for by the general fund before the fee, and are they going to bring that depreciation cost forward and charge the general fund for that, which some places would do in private sector, or just writing that off and bringing it forward as its actual value on the date of the fee was established?
We're going to bring it forward as its actual value as of the first day of that fiscal year.
Okay, that's another way. Thank you very much. That's all my questions.
Any other questions or comments? Patty, I want to sit back and thank you, Catherine, your team, Patty's team. We wouldn't have great schools, we wouldn't have a safe city if our city was not financially sound. And if y'all look at these numbers, folks, and John, let me say to you, this is not the norm. Unfortunately, not the norm, it's becoming the norm for us to get through these years. But, bottom line is, y'all done a great job budgeting to the numbers that we approved. How's that sound?
Thank you very much.
And so I thank y'all for your hard work, and we really appreciate it.
Just one observation, separate from that, but dealing with the 5-year forecast, which is much more significant than this document is in terms of planning. I would hope, number one, we could get it a week before we actually see it, so we can actually study it. And I would hope if we have a joint meeting, can we have a joint meeting where people get it and assume that they've read it? And that instead of briefing it for an hour and having 10 minutes to talk, that the school board and the council could actually have a discussion about the document? Or make the meeting longer, so after they get the presentation, we're not only having 15 minutes for 22 people to have a dialogue among themselves about what it means. I think the most beneficial thing isn't the brief itself, it's the discussion that we have among ourselves about what the brief means, and we never have that. And I hope that we can take that into consideration.
Well, I would recommend that we get the information out ahead of time. I've not heard anyone, except you, make a comment that would cut people short. I mean, I've not had that comment made to me by anyone, because I would have reacted if I did.
Well, I know, but I think people respect the time that we set, and because they respect how we set a time and stick with it, people don't object because we don't provide for the time, so
Well, we'll
that's
get
what
the
I
information
do.
out there. Okay, thank you. All right. Other questions or comments? Very good. We'll now go to liaison reports.
I've got
Yes,
some.
ma'am.
Okay. These are reports from some of my groups from the library. We're pleased to have that the Pungo Comic-Con event attracted about 650 people for that story time of comic books. So that was positive. for the books that were distributed on the beach. They reached more than 2,300 people riding bikes and giving books out for reading. Another thing was the summer reading success, and over 125,000 books were read during the 9-week challenge. And they involved 199 teenagers and residents for over 3,000 hours of service during that challenge. And the other thing that they've done in the library area is they help jumpstart the school year for several homeless students by working along with the Virginia Beach City Schools, and the staff registered 122 students and families for free library cards as part to include. On the next area, CHKD is partnering with social services to help with improving entry and continuity of care for our foster children. I mentioned the last time about that paper that they're trying for the financial aid. They have about 2.5 million sheets, and they're in the process of turning all of that to digital. And I asked when it will be finished, and they're hoping it will be done by February of 2016. And remember, there's going to be the open house at the annex on October 16th, around 11 to 1. Other comments? Did we mention about our town hall meeting?
I did not, but you can.
Well, it went pretty well for searching for the new city manager. And Ben, Shannon, and Bobby, we all worked as a team, and we had a very nice turnout for that. And we had some of the youth from the Mayor's Action Challenge, and they brought in some good ideas as well.
They were very impressive.
They were.
They're nice. Really, it makes you proud of the young people we got in this.
Yes, very good.
Good future ahead of us.
And Arts and Humanities, please remember there's an invitation for October 14th at noon. It's like the taste of the arts, and I think you will be pleased and impressed with that. The SWAM Business Forum on September 30th went very well. We had registered 190 participants, and we got some coverage from the Hampton Roads Business Weekly on that. And my other, from the VML, we did receive awards for the city, so Rosemary and I accepted that for the HEAL Award, and we did get platinum certification from the VML Green Government Challenge. So we're
Very
bringing
good.
that back
Thank you for representing us.
to the city. I think those are all that I've jotted down. Oh, last thing, the governor spoke at lunch, and he talked about the investment for education, how important technical, and he brought up the biosciences, and he's pleased that in Hampton Roads, we're taking a good lead on that. And he
You mean you didn't
mentioned-
just say Virginia Beach?
I know, I
I'm
was
very
waiting for him. He said Hampton
I
Roads.
didn't even say coastal Virginia.
You're right, I'd much prefer that. Thank you, John, I could have accepted that. Yeah. I could have accepted that.
And finally, he did mention that we are helping with the First Lady's initiative to do with feeding, kids, that in Virginia Beach, he did say Virginia Beach high schools have food mobile truck that goes to the high schools during the first and second, in between the first and second period. They offer breakfast to the students. So we did get the word Virginia Beach out.
Good,
And he
good,
sends his regards.
good, thank you.
Okay.
Other liaison reports. City council comments, Bobby.
Ben Edison.
I have a liaison report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The Beaches and Waterways Commission will be convening a meeting on October 14th at 3 p.m. at the Brock Environmental Center. We'll be discussing commercial menhaden fishing and making recommendations to
I
council.
saw you called the meeting for that.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Yes, ma'am.
Well, just to mention the groups that I liaison with, the Mayor's Commission on Aging, of course, will be having their showcase at the end of October.
I think they're turning people away now, too, aren't they?
It's already filled up, it always is. It's really, they're a very active group. The Green Ribbon Committee is, they have a subcommittee system which is meeting very regularly, and I think we'll have some recommendations for us soon. And the Transition Areas Study Committee also, I think, will be sending some comments about their interest, particularly with this transportation modeling that's coming forward, and the importance of having that, particularly for this area.
Any other liaison reports? Okay. Bobby, comment.
Thank you. Members of council, I beg your indulgence for a few minutes to allow me to express a viewpoint, which I hope will facilitate some positive discussion going forward on a very, very important issue. And I guess being from the New York metropolitan area, I get a different perspective on transportation costs. And I maybe have a different look at, when I look at the magnitude and complexity of bringing light rail. You know, there are many, many opinions. There are many, many things known. There are many things unknown. And I think what I'm trying to do in concurrence with the rest of council is to build a positive bridge with our public that, you know, as we go forward, we have a better understanding of what we're doing, how we're doing, and just to provide more clarity. So, you know, forgive me as I do bring forward my focus group of one, which I hope will at least, you know, facilitate some discussion, positive, negative, and, you know, just to end in a positive outcome as we go forward. And if you don't mind, I am going to, you know, respectfully request a referendum be put on the ballot for the November 2016 with the idea of light rail. I know we had one, but once again, I will discuss some of the merits of that, a lot of which was the timing. There was not enough information at the time and a few other problems. But if I could read on, once again, some of these are my personal points of view that you've heard over the years. And going forward, despite the hype and hyperbole over bringing light rail to Virginia Beach, this is far from being a done deal. Given the magnitude and complexities involved, our public deserves a stronger voice in the decision process. I feel that we, as elected representatives, have an obligation to conduct a meaningful referendum on the matter during the 2016 elections with a simple question: should light rail come to Virginia Beach, yes or no? Now, it's my understanding, and having some discussions, that this may be a question that may not come up to muster statutorily or whatever, but I think the question has to be designed to be simple, clear, and provide direction. I am open to what the question may be. Going on, the previous referendum question created more confusion and ambiguity among the public, failing to give the council solid direction. Proponents of light rail clearly marketed the referendum as a study, not an endorsement for or against light rail. Since the previous referendum, more information about the project has come forward, casting doubts on some of the assumptions that light rail will undoubtedly benefit our community and our financial interest. There are now indications that light rail may not alleviate traffic congestion, in fact may add to congestion, and may not be the stimulant to economic growth to a meaningful degree as advertised. Hence, light rail is a solution to problems yet to be defined. To date, proponents have yet to make the case that light rail is practical, feasible, or affordable to Virginia Beach residents. Our actions to this point for implementing light rail have been premature, given that there is no overall plan or directions for establishing a comprehensive solution for Hampton Roads regional public transportation that I am aware of. We are proceeding in a very piecemeal approach with absolutely no regard for how the dated and obsolete light rail technology will merge with innovative transportation technologies on the horizon in the near future. Fixed transportation methods may soon be the vehicle of the past. And I do apologize for the length of this, but there's a lot of information that we must consider. Before we make the final decision on light rail, a comprehensive regional plan should be in place to better determine our course of action. The number one impediment to growth and economic development for Virginia Beach and Hampton Roads continues to be the congestion at the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. We also desperately need a destination airport and a solid plan to bring high-speed rail to our region from Northern Virginia. Proactive actions on these concerns are essential to successful transportation in Virginia Beach and Hampton Roads. It is also essential that we present a business plan to our public addressing how we plan to incorporate the cost of running and maintaining light rail and supplemental bus systems into our budget in ways that are prudent and fiscally sustainable over the long haul. Granted, the final cost assessments have yet to be determined, but be assured that the final cost will be significant and require significant subsidies from the public. Does the public realize that most likely that taxes will have to be raised to meet these costs? Will Virginia Beach business owners recover enough receipts from visitors from Norfolk and elsewhere to justify the costs? As we confront the realities of budget shortfalls for the foreseeable future, the question becomes, can we accommodate light rail in our budget, given our substantial needs and obligations? We are confronted by billions of dollars in need and mandated by unfunded pension liabilities, EPA requirements, rising healthcare costs, school modernization and replacement costs, aging city infrastructure, public safety, as well as health and human service needs. We also face declines in state funding and continued downsizing of the military. As a city, our expenditures far outpace our revenues, and Hampton Roads region remains economically anemic. Our public cannot afford another tax increase, yet we have the obligation to continue to provide essential city services. We must also adequately compensate public safety personnel, teachers, and retain our excellent workforce. Allowing another referendum on light rail would go a long way in building the bridge of communication and mutual respect between the City Council and our citizens. Given the long history of missteps and close overruns, along with our recent debacle over the purchase of the 4 rail cars from Minnesota, the public grows increasingly skeptical as whether light rail would be of any tangible benefit to Virginia Beach. A referendum would facilitate a new, more vibrant level of civic engagement, giving advocates and adversaries a forum to state their ideas, recommendations, and solutions. It would also give our city the impetus to formulate a blueprint for success that would demonstrate to the public our decisions are being made with reason and logic, based on solid business model, not projection, not politics. Right now, there are too many unanswered questions and barriers to success that must be addressed before we move forward. The public rightfully feels that decision has been made already in our actions with including light rail at our recent budget and the 4 cars purchases before a final vote on the project. Given that Virginia Beach is not designed on a grid system, which favors the use of public transportation, will people utilize it, adding longer times to their daily commute? Light rail technologies do not have the capacity of performing north-south routes. Will light rail be flexible and adaptable to more modern modes of transportation in order to have an effective and efficient system? How will we deal with the increased costs of local government incurred by high-density transit-oriented development should it occur? Would an elevated system be more practical? Can the Independence Exchange accommodate the projected increase in traffic? Okay. And then in summation, the list continues. Given there will be no tangible return on investment, perhaps for decades, are we equipped to make the investment requiring significant subsidies? Has any decision been made over governance in running the system? Will taking the line to town center be enough, or will there be broader plans for expansion? And finally, is there a contingency plan being put in place should light rail not live up to expectations? To those who might say a referendum is an abdication of our roles as elected leaders, I say nothing could be farther from the truth. Given that the public will be paying for the results of our decision in perpetuity, it is essential that we provide avenues of civic engagement to help us in the decision process. I respectfully recommend that we move forward with providing a referendum on light rail for the November 2016 elections and take positive actions to provide forums and other venues to facilitate communication and understanding on this most important decision. Good government should never fear and engage an educated public. We should, in fact, embrace the opportunity. And I thank you for the opportunity to read that.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to further discussion down the road. Thank you. All right, any other comments? Yes, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, Bobby, could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The previous referendum question created more confusion and ambiguity among the public. The question on the referendum was, should the city council adopt an ordinance approving the use of all reasonable efforts to support the financing and development of the Tide Light Rail into Virginia Beach? What was so confusing about that?
Well, let me say, and I hate to sound academic about this, Ben, but that type of question would never pass muster in an academic setting on anybody, doing a PhD or anything. The fact, what does reasonable mean to you may be different to me.
Sure.
And the other thing is, and I went out and did a web search, because, Jim Wood and I had a good conversation on this yesterday. And the second hit I got, there was a Vote Yes initiative out here, where they gave the exact same thing that you gave, man. And this was written on their website.
Yes, sir.
The ballot language can be confusing. A yes vote would authorize the city council to move forward on planning for and finding ways to finance the expansion of the Tide to Virginia Beach. It does not, and it says not, capital NOT, authorize the actual construction of light rail or allocate any funds to pay for light rail. That was on that website.
Okay, great.
And then, okay.
Okay, what I'm going to suggest, we're going to have some discussions
Sure.
on this. We'll set aside time at a meeting, and this will be ongoing. And so we'll get back to, if that's okay with you. I'm assuming
I
we'll talk
appreciate
through
the
it.
opportunity.
Very
I just
good.
want to set the table.
Because we're going to be running out of time here in a few minutes. John,
But I will be very quick.
you're very good.
You may recall I have talked about this item before. This will be on the agenda for the 20th, so you'll have plenty of time to look at it. This is actually to adjust the budget. We adopted the budget last year on the basis that we had to forward fund the light rail cars and later be reimbursed. Now the requirement to purchase them has gone away, so therefore we should adjust the budget to reflect that. I had some other ideas how to spend the $10 million, but in light of the city manager's memorandum on Friday of a week ago that I read, I thought that would be imprudent. But that instead I recommend we establish a next year's mitigation account, and that this $10 million would be put into that account to help us meet next year's requirements for the budget, and that we would adjust the budget accordingly to reflect the state was now paying for that expense. But
Thank you.
that's it.
Other comments? I've got a few, but I'll be real quick too. Any other comments?
Just very
I do
short.
have some comments about the VML conference.
Please.
It had a wonderful conference. Amelia and I just got back from it. Dr. Edward Ayers, president of University of Richmond, gave a great symposium this morning about where we've been and where we're going as a state. It gave some excellent background on the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia and where we've come from and where we've gotten to now. One of the best parts about the conference was got to spend a lot of time with city council members from surrounding communities, including Norfolk. Got to spend a lot of time with councilperson Wibley, Johnson, Smeagol, and Protegero. Also got to spend time with Councilman Ike from the city of Chesapeake.
Great. Any other?
I
Very
was
good.
just commenting that the Neptune Festival, how everything went very well despite the weather. So congratulations to them.
I think they did as well as anyone could do.
Yes.
Council, I just want to let you know I've completed the employee meetings, asking the employees what they were looking for the next city manager, and they just were concluded. But next Tuesday, I'll have every bullet that every comment was made, and in addition, at each meeting, we ask prioritization of what they wanted, and it'll be prioritized, plus every bullet will be there, and each one of y'all will have that by Tuesday. Secondly, and John, I apologize for this. I've had council members to ask me to put together a letter pertaining to the legislative package and your request that went against what the police chief wanted on the suicide thing. Anyway, I'm asking it to be put out electronically at that, and if I don't hear from other council members, it's basically that not going to the legislative
I want it in
package.
the package and voted on.
Well, okay, I'm just going to say, I'm getting a lot of feedback from the council members on this, okay? And the letter also would ask you to please get with the police chief and understand what the process he's going through already.
I do understand what that is. I understand what people's rights are, and they should take precedent over government, and that's a principal issue, and I'm not really
Okay,
interested in
but
this,
anyway,
so-
the letters, if council members, if you want to sign off with me, that's fine. If I don't hear anything, that's fine too. Okay, let's go to work. Mr. Vice Mayor?
All right, under ordinances and resolutions, anybody have any comments about any of those?
I do.
All right.
The one dealing with encroachments, people need to know that doesn't include mailboxes, even though it doesn't mention that they're exempted under federal statute. I think we ought to still notice so the public knows, but it has nothing to do with mailboxes.
Which number is this? I hate to,
That's the very first one, I think.
okay, public streets, got it.
But that, and secondly, while it doesn't say in here specifically, the city attorney has assured me that the delegations of authority to act on behalf of the city manager will be done in writing.
It's been prepared and will be given to the manager. If this ordinance passes, we'll give it to him.
And also that when it says the office of the city attorney will pass judgment, it actually means it's someone who's actually an attorney in the office versus just someone who works in the office. The way it reads, it could be anyone who's employed in the office of the, it doesn't say an attorney shall do, it just says the office of the attorney. And that needs to be qualified, it should be an attorney. All right, those things.
Everything's consent for you
Yep,
though? Okay,
just want to tell you, I just
very good.
shared this thing.
Let's
that
go
I
to
had.
planning,
I've
Mr.
got an issue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Under J4, the resolution regarding constitutional officer compensation, I am completely confused on exactly what the heck this thing does. I've read it multiple times. I've talked to 2 constitutional officers today about it. One is okay with it, one doesn't like it, and so, you know, we probably don't have time to fully brief it. I'd love to see this thing deferred if it's not critical. Otherwise, I can't.
It's not critical. Can we have a briefing?
Absolutely.
Okay, that'd be great. We'll have a briefing before we vote on it next, so
we
we'll
can
defer
it
that.
indefinitely? Okay,
Defer indefinitely?
Yeah, that'd be great.
that would be my request.
Yes, sir.
That was what I was going to say, so we're deferring it by poll, but I will pass out what I had planned to prepare tonight. I was going to give a presentation on that if we were voting. But with the exception of these ordinances, since we're running this big deficit projected for next year, we got very little, and I asked for a lot of detailed information, which we couldn't get by today, but we're appropriating, close to over $3 million and carrying forward money, without any real detail of why that is. And I don't know how we know that that money is more important than the things we have unfunded in the next year. And maybe this was discussed at another time, but I think that I can't in good conscience, without better knowledge, say that this is a higher priority than the things I don't know that are unfunded. And you're asking us to spend money, and I just can't support it.
So are you not voting for 7A and B?
I'm voting for 7A and B, and I would like to still ask for information on what those 2 trucks are, the cars that cost $285,000 for 2 vehicles.
I'm sorry, I'm confused.
I'm going to vote
What are
no
you
on
not voting
7A and B.
Okay, and we'll move to planning now.
Are you saying no?
No.
Yeah.
I'll give my reasons up front.
I believe I've seen an email that says there's a speaker on item, what is it, 3B, Madam Clerk?
Planning or ordinance?
No, this is ordinance.
You say you do have a speaker?
I have an email, I've seen an email that says that someone is going to be coming to
Well, if
speak.
they come to speak, we'll not keep it on consent.
Okay.
Okay? All right, let's go to planning.
All right, yeah. Under planning, Forefront Christian Church, Princess Anne, Ms. Henley.
For no opposition.
2, RV Management Services, North Landing Beach RV Resort, Princess Anne, Ms. Henley.
I've heard no questions, although there were speakers at the Planning Commission. I haven't heard from them, so if they come, of course, we'll hear it. Otherwise, I think their condition maybe is covered.
All right. All Safe Storage LLC, Oceana Partners LLC, Beach District, Mr. Earn.
I have no issues with that, Mr. Vice Mayor, but there may be a speaker, so maybe.
All right, well, if they come, we'll pull it. 4, Trustees of Eastern Shore Chapel, Beach District, Mr. Earn. 5, Rochelle M. Kitzmiller, Lynn Haven District, Mr.
Yeah, the applicant circulated a petition agreeing, and if you, it's in here if you look at it, agreeing to keep the garage doors closed, reduce any noise or visual disturbance, and that was a pretty important thing with some of the neighbors. That did not make it into the conditions, but I talked to Ms. Lastly about it, so I would be in favor of keeping on consent, adding that condition that the garage doors be kept closed while the business is ongoing, because,
The addition.
yeah, her plan is to actually have the activities in the garage, and that could be noisy with the music and everything.
All right. 6, Larray Tucker and PP&P LLC, Beach District, Mr. Hearn.
That, Mr. President, should be a good improvement.
That's it. All right, we're going to do appointments in 5 minutes because I got one I need to get done. The chair will entertain a motion to recess into a closed session pursuant to the exemptions from open meetings allowed by Section 2.2-3711A Code of Virginia, as submitted for the following purposes: personnel matters, discussion, consideration of, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, promotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1, council appointments, council, board, commissions, committees, authorities, agencies, and appointees. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Call the question.
I'll look at it more closely.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.